Welcome to another episode of What's Up with DJ, and I'm your host, DJ. And each week I bring you topics about current events, career development, finance, holistic living, life hacks, and stories of inspiration and humor, all from a spiritual perspective. So for the entire month of February, in celebration of African American History Month, I've been showcasing African American authors. And this week, the author is Corianne Holmes, and we're focusing on her book, South Island Tiny House, which chronicles her journey from Boston to New Zealand with her husband. They both committed to building a 14 square meter tiny home. Folks, that's smaller than the average size parking space. But they committed to doing that because they wanted to gain financial freedom. What some people are calling the FIRE movement, which means financial independence, retire early. So we'll talk about that this week. But next week, join me because we'll be discussing tiny home living again with author VV Tai. And we'll learn about what she calls van life. And yes, she lives out of a vintage Dodge van. But V, she helps her clients find their personal path to freedom. And she teaches people how to live a more authentic life. And through Reiki and meditation, and we'll dive into her story next week. But this FIRE movement has really taken off. So, yeah. But be sure to subscribe, follow, like, comment, and leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Your thoughts, opinions, comments are always encouraged and appreciated. You can always email me at dj@whatsupwithdj.com. Again, that's dj@whatsupwithdj.com. And with that being said, let's get right into the show. So, my guest this week is Corianne Holmes. She's the author of South Island Tiny House. Corianne currently resides in Dunedin, New Zealand with her husband, Patrick. She is originally from Boston, where she met her husband. Corianne graduated from Wesley College, where she majored in French and East Asian Studies and earned her master's degree in business management from the University of Canterbury. After a few months of dating, Corianne is actually the one who popped the question. Will you move with me to New Zealand? I bet you thought I was going to say, will you marry me? But they married in 2017. They moved to New Zealand in 2014 and decided to use their life savings to build a tiny house for just $13,600, which they lived in for 5 years. The tiny house allowed them to save enough to build a normal-sized home, mortgage-free, overlooking the beautiful Blue Skin Bay, which is extremely beautiful, located in Waitati, which is a small town outside of Dunedin. They recently quit their jobs to run their multiple businesses together. You can find more about their journey on their YouTube channel, which I will have in the description notes. They currently have their South Island tiny home listed on Airbnb for others to experience tiny home living. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited.
Yes, I'm so glad to have you on. So this month, I am inviting African American authors for the month of February, which is African American History Month. And I saw that you was African American and you was an author, and also that you lived in New Zealand and you were author of, you was doing minimalistic living, tiny home living, aka tiny home living. And I thought, that must be so interesting. We have such an interesting conversation. So I reached out to you and you said, yes, I'll be on your show.
Yeah.
So thank you for being here. And I just wanted to just get an understanding about what is tiny home living, because I've seen, footage, videos of people on YouTube. But what is your definition of it?
Well, that's the thing is tiny house living is really so personal and everyone has a little bit of a different journey in how they arrive to the decision that tiny house living was for them. But for us, we basically defined it as a small home, whether that means on wheels, which ours is a tiny house on wheels, or a little bit more permanent, so either built on a foundation or on piles, for example, or it could be something like a shipping container size. So it really depends on where you live, what kind of situation you have. Like even living on a boat, I consider that to be tiny house living, or living in a house bus or a van life kind of situation.
Yeah.
So basically, it's just anything where you stay in a contained, very small sized home for whatever reason. And there's lots of reasons that people do it. But for us, it was mostly to live in a dry home. We wanted a place where we were allowed to have a cat. So the property we were renting didn't allow cats, and we kind of adopted this stray cat. So we wanted to make sure we could keep her with us. And also we just wanted a place that didn't have so much high rental cost, basically. So those were our three main things and the three main reasons we decided to go tiny.